Hi and welcome to another episode of the DigiTeacher. In this week's episode, I'd like to look at creating projects that integrate Scratch with the microbit chip. So if you're transitioning between Scratch programming and using a microbit or the other way around, this little functionality in Scratch, being able to integrate and connect with a microbit chip is really, really handy. And for this week, I'm going to be showing you how to put together a simple little project for a burglar alarm between the microbit chip and your computer using Scratch. Hi, so once you're in Scratch, just make sure you've got Scratch Link installed. You can download that off the internet or you can get it in Microsoft Store. And what that does is it allows you to have a microbit connected to your computer. So I've got a microbit connected via USB cable, and whatever program you create automatically links to that microbit. It's a really fantastic way of working with a microbit. Unfortunately, the code blocks available with a microbit on Scratch are not that extensive. So you are limited in the kinds of projects that you can create. But here's an idea. We're going to create a burglar alarm which connects the microbit chip to the computer. And we're going to get it to work both ways. So if the microbit chip is moved, let's say it's on a door, and if the door is opened illegally, then it's going to send an alarm to your computer. And if you're, of course, there's the small matter of the microbit chip not being connected to the computer, but let's kind of overlook that. The code works and it's quite instructive. Or if there's movement on the screen, as a burglar moves around the room, then it sends an alarm to your microbit chip. So either way, quite a nice little project. In terms of pedagogy, you can use starter code and then get students to modify that code to add functionality or to do something slightly different. And you can come up with any number of ideas of how to use it. You can use live code, so you walk them through how to add the extension, how to connect their microbit. So when you want to use it in the cycle, if you've been programming in Scratch and you want to transition to using microbits, this is quite a good way of doing it. If they've been using microbits and you want to transition into Scratch, equally so. For the first time, I usually use something like live code, where the teacher walks students through how to create a code, and then you leave them with something to modify, to change in the code, something to add. Or you can give them some starter code and get them to work on modifying that. The kind of concepts that we're using here are things like the video sensing, things like a microbit, how to use a microbit, some of the commands on a microbit, and maybe text-to-speech, something like that. So you'll notice that here I've added the microbit, the video sensing, text-to-speech, and the music extensions. So those have all been added to Scratch. And you do that by clicking on the adding extension and going and adding the extensions here. You'll notice there are also links to Lego, which can be quite good. So let's set up a project. I'm going to go and have my when clicked. And when clicked, what's going to happen, I'm going to go to my microbit and I could, for example, display a heart. So that's going to, when I click the start here, it's displaying a heart on my microbit chip. Now, I'm not going to kind of photograph that and show you that. You'll just have to take my word for it. It's now showing on my microbit chip. And you notice how seamlessly that happens. It's a fantastic integration because Scratch Link means it updates your microbit immediately, which is a good way of easing your way into microbits. Because otherwise, the download and the connecting, students can balk at that a little bit. So let's get, when I have motion on my screen, let it display on the microbit. So I'm now going to get when video motion is greater than. So that's in my video sensing one. I'm going to have something displaying on my microbit. So I'm going to display the text alarm. And what happens now is, because I'm moving my head on my microbit chip, I can see the words alarm happening. let's get it. So that's sending a signal. It's sending an alarm signal to the microbit chip that there is an alarm. So let's get it to work the other way. What if my microbit chip moves? Let's get the avatar to say. So to do that, I need to go into the microbit chip, and I say when it's moved, or I can choose when it's shaken. But let's just keep it on moved. Then under looks, I can say alarm. So let's go and make that happen. I'm going to move the chip, and you can see it says alarm. It says it for 2 seconds. And obviously I can add some music there, so it could play a snare drum or bass drum or something. Let's have a hi-hat, see what that does. It says alarm, and then it makes a sound. I could also add text-to-speech. So I could, instead of just showing alarm, I could say the words alarm. So I'm going to move my microbit chip, says alarm, speaks alarm, and says the music. So
Alarm.
Okay, well, let me take that out because it's going to be annoying otherwise. So I think you can see that there are several basic little things you can do to integrate with your microbit. If you look at the code blocks available, it's basically pressing buttons or moving the microbit, displaying icons, saying hello, clearing the display. So there's not that much you can have when the pin is connected. So you could send a signal via a pin to the microbit and then make that do something. So you could have a sensor of some kind and attach it, but the functionality is very basic. But I think just the mere fact of connecting to your microbit is, and you can ask students maybe to design their own function. You could maybe show them this code, this basic code, and then get them to say, well, how might you use this in the real world? Some kind of function, maybe when you're taking a register or something, and when you press a button, it says the person's name. So if you press button A, it says Katie. If you press button B, it says Harry. Anything like that, just to kind of log in for a session, or you can get students to design their own little projects, having shown them the code. Well, I hope you enjoyed looking at this functionality. I've only become aware of this quite recently and started using it. So I think it's a useful little tool to add to your projects, to add to your armory when using either Scratch or using microbits, and you want to join the two together. So hope you enjoyed this episode, and bye for now.